James.
Delegate James present.
Honorable Vince James is present. Honorable Eugene So. Honorable Edmund Yazzie. Honorable Eugene So.
Oh.
Honorable Eugene. Honorable Eugene So is present. Honorable Edmund Yazzie. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 4 members present, which constitutes a quorum, Madam Chair.
Cheryl, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Cheryl. So with that, committee members, we'll go ahead and proceed forward on the agenda. We do have next, after the roll call, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the invocation. At this time, I would like to ask Vice Chair Otto, so if you could say the prayer for us this morning, Chitsui.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Well, I did, it's not, what she back with all that exists, all, Colotos and she back to the. For those on the now, Sunny Master, not in his car. This she get called out, which, have get out with Jish. I don't even be at a call, but he cannot hold Jish. I did your car seat there with egg on Jono. When so I didn't hear how I did or us. I don't the whole shiny need our way than it's in the yaji than it's I don't equal and it's cut cake. I don't the asani need and here and all baby natural when it's Okodo at this cut cake and even ye equado but it's so I eat it and it's an easy yet a hoko. Canon is long cake eat all this. I just get a bit eat or half with yard or half when it's all yet or in non-genity a simple cut so this. It is corona or is other bad hidden now. It is car area with a tree. It all are there with ego. He would how the string a tiny need and he kate on his jar, his trees and his jay. He hidden in that case, he had was charged he did lay as don't hunt not easily. Every nation is a car at area. I think a king a car you can't start or the yard echo. Hold now area home. Increase a cut gate that's all this now son him. Eve area na rave horizon to kill nehi tani clean dole. Would you not sleep? 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 Turn it over to you, Princess.
Thank you for that beautiful invocation this morning, Vice Chair. Always nice to hear prayers being offered by the 24th Navajo Nation Council. So with that, committee members will go ahead and proceed forward to item number 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials. We'll go ahead and we'll begin at this time. I will ask, aside from the Law and Order Committee members, are there any other delegates who are currently on the line?
This is Delegate Crotty. I'm on the line.
Good morning, Delegate Crotty. Thank you for being on the line with us this morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed forward. Who do we have on the line from the Office of the Speaker?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee, staff, guests. This is Nikita Kirk, Legislative Staff Assistant with Office of the Speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, Nikita. Thank you for being on the line with us here today. Who do we have from Office of Legislative Counsel on the line? Not hearing anything. Lorraine, let's make sure we got somebody from Office of Legislative Counsel on the line. Even though we are just hearing reports today, it's good to just make sure that we do have somebody on the line in case we do have questions. Who do we have here from the Office of Legislative Services aside from Sherelle and Lorraine? Okay, not hearing anything. We'll go ahead and proceed forward. Who do we have from the Office of the, I'm sorry, the Judicial Branch?
Good morning, Madam Chair and honorable members of the Law and Order Committee. This is Karen Francis from Office of the Chief Justice.
Good morning. This is Judge Livingston, Crown Point Judicial Civil Control Circuit Court.
Good morning, Judge Livingston and Karen. Thank you both for being on the line here this morning. Who do we have from the Office of the President and Vice President?
Good morning, Madam Chair and LOC members. This is Tamara Johnson, Executive Staff Assistant with the Office of the President and Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the line, Ms. Johnson. Do we have any executive directors currently on the line? Okay, not hearing anything. We'll go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda. We have a review and adopt agenda. Lorraine, can you go ahead and read the agenda into the record, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee members, and also members of the Nomination Council that are on the line, and guests and staff. Thank you. Agenda of the Law and Order Committee, 24th Nomination Council, regular meeting through telecommunications, September 12th, 2022, 10 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, Chairwoman. Honorable Ottoso, Vice Chairperson. 1, call meeting to order. Roll call and invocation. Number 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. Number 3, review and adopt agenda. Number 4, review and adopt the journals. There are 2 journals for August 1st, 2022 and August 8th, 2022. 5, receiving reports. A, update report from Dr. Dolores Gray Eyes, Director, Department of Corrections, on the operation and maintenance and on the facilities and the costs. B, report from Department of Justice on Indian Child Welfare Act cases. C, report from Prosecutor's Office on the caseloads and what barriers do you have within these cases. Number 6, old business, none. 7, new business, none. 8, close of meeting, announcement and adjournment. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, the agenda has been read into the record. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second.
Motion, Delegate James, with a request.
Okay.
Motion made by Delegate Vince James, second by Honorable Eugene So. Committee members, are there any questions, comments, or any amendments that need to be made to the agenda at this time?
Delegate James Shanella.
Delegate Vince James, the floor is yours.
Here Shanella, Ado LOC Committee ni Gleniki. Do is enough Angi. I'd like to make a request to add on under report to receive information on the status of where the Navajo Nation police officer bonus payout is at, and why some of our Navajo Nation police officers bonus payment have not been made yet. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Delegate Vince James. So there is an amendment at this time. colleagues, the amendment is to add a report regarding the police officer bonus payout. And I believe that we probably would have to call Chief Noon and Deputy Chief Red Horse on this. Lorraine, can you go ahead and start working to see if you can get a hold of them and ask them to provide a report? Delegate
Madam
Vince,
Chair?
Delegate Vince James, that motion has been made. Before I call upon Vice Chair Otto, so I'd like to ask for a second because there's a motion to amend. Second call for a motion to amend the agenda today to add on to the reports, police officers bonus pay. Can I get a
Madam
second?
Chair,
Yes.
I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna second that just for discussion purposes, but come back to me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Otto. So with that, the motion to amend made by Delegate Vince James has been seconded by Vice Chair Otto. And this is to add on a report regarding the bonus pay for police officers. So with that, Vice Chair, I'm going to go ahead and swing back around to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I guess my thought is that the bonus pay pertaining to the police officers is something that is worked on internally, and it's not something that is done legislatively. And what I'm getting to is that as the internal process begins and it's in progress of the bonus pay, I'm trying to figure out on what authority of legislative authority are we requesting this report on pertaining to that. If it's an internal matter for public safety to administer, it sounds like the bonus pay is going on. They're working on it, and and just wondering if there's a legislation that was implemented, or if there was a condition of appropriation that was put in to maybe to the budget to make sure that this bonus happens, because the bonus process of the Navajo Nation has a certain process, and it is within the internal I guess the internal dialogue, follow the policy that's in place.
Madam Chair,
And,
point of order.
But that policy needs to be followed, and that's where I'm trying to get.
Vice Chair Otto, so there's a point of order that
legislative
has been
branch
called by Delegate
authority
Eugene
is
So.
that
So I'm
on
going to
that.
go ahead and
Thank you.
recognize Delegate Eugene So at this time. Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
My point of order is, is regards to the amendment to our agenda. I already that's my point of order. Thank you.
Yes, we are talking about the amendment at this time, Delegate Eugene So.
Madam Chair, can I proceed?
Yes, you can go ahead and proceed, Vice Chair. Go ahead.
Oh, the next that about which now that when the Naya that knows me. The has on ya I thought executive branch just because it and the process ya pe o stahi ya ya pe petati ako ti ya to hadit elda koto peshma ante koto hadit ani means so the condition of appropriation to make sure that this happens and so forth. But what I would suggestly recommend is that we do bring in the chief of police on this, because this merit bonus pay is something that covers the whole police department, not only the police officers. I believe the merit bonus pay is something that is equal, whether they are a commissioned officer or whether they are a civilian employees. The bonus payment program is something that is equal across the board. I think as public safety comes back to the table, this is the first time that I knew that that I heard that they're doing another bonus, and I was like, peso attend halit ala bonus na ne ako even na oyon tisiki halit peso hanana ne. If it's carryovers, those carryovers are budgeted already. So those are just some of my thoughts, and as a report, I think we should give the public safety some ample time to get information together, because public safety consists over criminal investigation, consists over Department of Corrections, Department of Juvenile Justice Services. So add on the public safety. So let's have them get ready for that report, and have them give a formal report to us, so that we're not really stepping on their toes pertaining to what authorities they have in the process right now. But the process right now, they're in control of moving forth with the bonuses. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair. So with that, committee members, a motion has been made and a second has been provided. Delegate Otto So did provide his concerns regarding this motion to the amendment. Delegate Eugene So, we are discussing the amendment at this time. Are there any other questions or comments? Delegate Vince James, would you like to respond to Delegate Otto So's concerns?
Yeah, Shanali, yes, I can. Yeah, Nana Shanali, Madam Chair, Ado Nana Shanali Vice Chair, Ado Nadine Kit, de ya, the Chris Kanda Shide ya Ecuador, Madam Chair, Bill, na kidney out in the Washington, the Inhinanish Ilia ko. The aya bel jahadasi z do the 638 funziki hit out kodo bonus ni his allow has anje what that he peso do peso that no tahiki 638 diki what in that all ye chokot be Kenny Kaido be Ishtane that he liane ako. Quaggy bahna dish kid. Adonana ani dik an fiscal year. Aj nahod jish. Hodina dog at I bahaul dikit at closeout report and hit that no. The last 2 weeks of September, ni now for nation funds quit ako. October 1st though. Ni federally funds go either on a separate fiscal year. Ako quacky bahna dish kid ako height out in his johodot jokot ako ado sign on bonus to the no what ado Madam Chair yego yana os cancel ako ako halit out what our sign-on bonus iki that the nihla put on his law ako quaggy thought the quiz sheet ya at law that's lane that is trust lane ko that thought ha before jishla ada anni Jukot echo, Shishakan, Chuko A Shabiga, Nabapa, Ako A Quacky, A Hichoto, Ehat Elaba, business unit number OMB OOC Dila, a Quacky do, Hala Elch, a Neta, Jaquacky do A Banbina, deal kitten so. A Arthur the Schnecko, Ado Benia A not on in it as law and order committee, Doko. Not this, the Codon, his allow, at 4 years, and hitch hada, the business bonus, and his no co, don't hitch and the Hadlieda, hazard duty paid, the Anjina bow, than hit the no bin, hit Nahan co, Oshna, the bits Panane, Edo, Chokot Alto, Bansananas case, even in a Baba case, and Zido, Abacado, Dob, not a deal kiddo, Baba, not a deal kiddo, or not Ani. Ni hina Nishlan Order Committee ni Glenigi, Bale Casey, Zindo, Licking Son, hit the Schnecko, what out not Kodo Hana State or Lick, Shana Huntlagi, Chanel, Madam Chair, Quadidolish.
Thank you for that explanation, Vice Chair, Delegate Vince James. And Delegate Vince James is correct, Vice Chair Otto. So the last time we did travel to Washington, D.C., we did have that conversation with BIA Office of Justice Services. And it was at that time we did get authorization to use leftover 638 contract funds. And we were told that we can use those funds for retention bonuses or for sign-on bonuses. But we also have to keep in mind as well that when those funds are used, that it just, it could possibly, linger into, in case we were having an influx of police officers, we would have to look into that. But at this point, Office of Justice Services did give the Navajo Nation authorization. It was verbal authorization, and about a month and a half ago, I believe, we did get a report from Division of Public Safety, or maybe it was 2 months ago, informing the Law and Order Committee that they received the official letter from Office of Justice Services through the BIA authorizing these funds to be used. And I believe that that's what Delegate Vince James is talking about, is, to get an update on that, and where it's at. And a lot of this was because of the competition that the Navajo Nation was facing with other jurisdictions outside of the Navajo Nation. Vice Chair, I believe that we had a meeting back in the spring on this issue with Chief Noon. And then I believe that Lieutenant Donnie Key was also present, but I just was informed that Lieutenant Donnie Key is actually now Commander Key. And then there was also a Division Director, Jesse Delmar, who was also in attendance at that time. And during that meeting, they did report to the Law and Order Committee that one of the issues that they're facing is that they can't compete with county or state or even municipal police departments, because they were offering higher salary, or they were offering bonuses. And I believe at that time, Albuquerque Police Department was offering, like, I want to say it was like $10,000 or to $16,000 for bonuses. And that was something that we, the Navajo Nation, we couldn't compete with. So a lot of our officers were leaving, to join to join other police department forces. So as a result of that, when Delegate Vince James and I did meet with Office of Justice Services, that was one of the issues that we did bring up. And then we offered the solution of possibly using the 638 funds, and we got permission to do that. So and that's what Delegate Vince James is talking about. So I think that we do have oversight over that. And you are correct, it does deal with policies and procedures, but those are not general funds that are being used. It's the 638 contract funds that are being used to offer these bonuses. And again, Vice Chair Otto, so about 2 months ago, we were informed of this when Deputy Chief Red Horse came on to Law and Order Committee and did tell us that they just received the letter and that he was working on getting the bonuses out. And I believe that there was 2 types of bonuses that were being offered. One is a sign-on bonus, and then one is a longevity bonus for the officers who have been with the Navajo Nation Police Department for over a certain amount of years. So with that, that's just a little bit of further explanation, Vice Chair. So committee members, are there any other questions or comments regarding amendment number 1?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Vice Chair Adoso, the floor is yours.
thank you very much. Thank you for the clarity. Because when the statement was made, this bonuses, that what triggered to my mind was the regular bonuses that is within tribal law and is within each program's policy, meaning merit bonus pay. And but the term was utilized as bonus. But yes, the $638 on the other hand is a whole different scenario pertaining to funding. So I wish that was clarified when the motion was made. But when the term is utilized for bonus, not broken down, that's where you get some sort of misinformation pertaining to this issue. And yeah, I believe that's something that we could have a discussion on this committee meeting. Thank you. Yeah.
Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time?
There's none. This is Doug DeBigay calling in. Another.
Good morning, Delegate Begay. Thank you for joining us this morning. So with that, since there's no other questions or comments, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the roll call vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote for amendment number 1? Oh, actually, hold on, Sherelle, I do apologize. Lorraine, can you go ahead and read into the record the amendment number 1, please?
Okay, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order. So this report will be under receiving reports D. And it's to add a report from the Navajo Nation Police Department regarding police officers bonus payment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, the amendment has been read into the record. We're going to go ahead at this time. Sherelle, if you could assist us with the roll call vote for amendment number 1, please.
Yes, Honorable Adoso, how do you vote?
I will agree.
Honorable Adoso votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Sam votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edmund Yazi votes green. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. 4 in favor and 0 opposed. So at this time, we do have an agenda. Committee members, we're going back to the main motion. Are there any comments, any questions, or any more amendments that need to be made at this time? Okay, not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and Lorraine, can you go ahead and read the agenda back into the record again with amendment number 1 included? Then we'll go ahead and proceed forward to roll call vote. Lorraine?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order.
Lorraine, hold on. Vice Chair Adoso, go ahead.
Yes, there's someone speaking in the background there. Can we get staff to mute them? Thank you.
Yeah, I do see it pops up on my screen as Martin A. I believe that they have been muted at this time, so thank you for that, Vice Chair. Staff, if we can have better control over muting people, just because they're interrupting. So anyone who's listening in at this time, make sure that your phone is on mute. It interrupts the work of the committee, which then in turn interrupts the work on behalf of the Navajo Nation and the work being done for the people. So please make sure that your phone is muted. If your phone is not muted and you continue to interrupt our committee meeting, we'll go ahead and hang up on you. So please make sure that your phone is muted at this time. So with that, Lorraine, I apologize. The floor is yours, Lorraine, to read the agenda into the record.
Okay.
Another
thank you,
is
Madam
Delegate
Chair.
McGay. Can I say something?
Delegate Elmer Begay, we are getting ready to vote on the agenda. We do need to have the agenda read into the record. What can, you have the floor.
Yes, another. Thank you for that. Other Chair Wedo, the Vice Chair, and the rest of the Law and Order Committee. We've been sending email to Lorraine and see if I can get the legislation of the DACON Justice Center to be back on the agenda. CG, that's on that. It's been over 4 months that we've been requesting it. So we're doing a follow-up on it, and we'll be respectfully asking for that. What's the update on it, or can it be on the next meeting? I'll leave out that we can another. It's one question. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Lorraine, I guess we can have a discussion on that. I know that as a committee, we do receive all of the legislations that are currently waiting at our committee. I have been working on trying to get funding for all of the projects. And it's really a shame that one project, went through the process, and now other delegates are going to jump on board with trying to move their public safety facility projects moving through the process. Lorraine, we can go ahead and if we can go ahead and put that on the agenda possibly for next week or the next Law and Order Committee meeting. We can have a discussion about that. So with that, we'll go ahead and proceed forward.
Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Ottoso, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My suggestion is, Mr. Begay, Honorable Begay is going to move forward with that legislation. We go ahead and allow it to move forth, and the overall loan for public safety, we go ahead and take that project off the list that we're getting the bond finance, and then we add in the other areas that need additional facility. I believe his request is about $35 million, so that we could go ahead and take it off the bond financing proposal and allow him to go ahead and move the legislation forth through I believe he's trying to take money out of CHISN. So of that, we can allow that, and then it'll open up a slot on the major build out for the bond financing, so that we can go ahead and move forth. And I don't have any we can move forward the way he wants, but we'll just take it off the initial bond financing proposal. That way we could fund other areas that the need is on the Navajo Nation. Thank you.
Thank you for that suggestion, Vice Chair. So at this time, Lorraine, I will ask you to read the agenda into the record. And just an FYI, we do have Delegate Paul Begay, who has joined the Law and Order Committee meeting. Good morning, Delegate Begay, and thank you for being on the line. We are getting ready to read the agenda in its final version so that we can go ahead and proceed forward with accepting the agenda for today's meeting. Lorraine, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. So the agenda, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, under number 5 will stay the same. A, B, C, D. D will read report from the Navajo Nation Police Department regarding police officer bonus payment. And then the rest, 6 old business, 7 new business, both of them are none, and then 8 close of meeting, and the rest stays the same, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, the agenda has been read into the record with amendment number 1. There are no questions and no comments, so we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote to accept the agenda into the record, please?
Yes, Honorable Araso, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Araso votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote is yeah.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Jam votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 not voting, Madam Chair.
3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. The agenda has been accepted into the record with the 1 amendment. So we'll go ahead and proceed forward to item number 4, review and adopt the journals. We do have 2 journals that have been forwarded to us. Sherelle, can you remind us when you sent the email regarding the 2 journals dated August 1st, 2022 and August 8th, 2022?
Madam Chair and LC members, I did send the journal back in August, Thursday, August 11th, 2022 at 9:18 a.m. I sent August 1st, 2022 regular meeting journal and August 8th, 2022 special meeting journal on that day. And I did send a reminder this morning at 9:16 a.m. with the 2 journals attached, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, committee members, please look into your email. The email has been sent, both journals attached. Sherelle did send it out as early as this morning. So if you need to refer back to your email to view those 2 journals. At this time, committee members, we have 2 ways to approach this. Number 1 is we can do a motion and a second for August 1st, 2022 and vote on that journal. Do a motion and a second for August 8th, 2022 and do a vote on that journal. Or we can combine both journals and vote on August 1st, 2022 and August 8th, 2022 journals and do 1 vote accepting both journals. How would the committee like to proceed?
Madam Chair,
I want to make a motion as I read
both.
both.
Motion has been made by Delegate Eugene So to accept both journals with 1 vote. I believe there was a second, Honorable Vice Chair Otto So, is that correct? You second?
That's correct.
Okay, with that, we do have a motion and a second made by Honorable Eugene So, second by Vice Chair Otto So to accept both journals dated August 1st and August 8th, 2022. Committee members, are there any questions or comments regarding the journals? Not hearing anything, we can go ahead and do a roll call vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with that, please?
Yes, Honorable Araso, how do you vote?
I am going to vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Araso votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Jam votes green.
Thank you, Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote is yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. So with that, three delegates voting in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting, we can go ahead and proceed forward. Thank you, Cheryl, for sending out those journals. We now move to item number 5 on the report receiving, or on the agenda receiving reports. We have first an update report from Dr. Dolores Gray Eyes, the Director, Department of Corrections, on the operations and maintenance of the facilities and the cost. Dr. Gray Eyes, are you on the line?
Yes, Madam Chair, I am on the line.
Dr. Gray Eyes, are you ready to present to the Law and Order Committee?
I am not ready to provide the details of what the Law and Order is requesting, but I can give you a summary and request for additional time to get detailed maintenance cost information from the districts.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gray Eyes. And I do apologize, Dr. Gray Eyes, that we called you at the last minute. The purpose of getting this report from you, Dr. Gray Eyes, is, as you know, we have been having the 105 Lease meetings. And right now, my understanding is that we can build the facilities, but the problem that we run into is the operations and maintenance and getting that covered. However, under the 105 Lease, there is that option of getting a large portion of our operations and maintenance covered. And so what we need to know right now is just really kind of the process in getting operations and maintenance covered for these facilities. I know that that Delegate Nathaniel Brown recently got his legislation through regarding the judicial. The funding that was granted to him does not include operations and maintenance. So that then means that judicial branch is going to be covering the operations and maintenance cost of that facility. But how do we, as the Navajo Nation, how do we proceed forward in that 105 Lease option? And Dr. Gray Eyes, as you know, I did send an email to the entire body, President Naz and Vice President Leiser, Paulson Chaco, Speaker Seth Damon, as well as the Law and Order Committee members, Division of Public Safety. I think there were a lot of people that were CC'd in that email. And I did ask, whether we can meet to discuss the 105 Lease option as a way to cover the cost of building and the operations and maintenance. And so I'm hoping that I can get we as a committee can get some information on the process of getting operations and maintenance covered right now. And then the process, as you understand, under the 105 Lease, is that something that you can give us information on today, or is that something that you do need time for? Dr. Gray Eyes?
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. I can give you some some small bits of information, but not a whole lot of detail. If you will allow me to do that, then I think we can discuss what we need to do as far as next steps.
Thank you, Dr. Gray Eyes. And I do have to say, Dr. Gray Eyes, I appreciate the support that you're showing in terms of how important, or how we are both aware of the importance of this 105 Lease and what it can do for the Navajo Nation. And I think it's important that the committee members hear this option and what is happening. So we can get a summary, and if the committee members have further questions or in-depth questions, you're welcome to write them down, and we can give you the opportunity to present again, providing us a little bit more information. And hopefully we'll have some feedback from the leaders, from the president himself, and also Speaker Damon, to start talking. Oh, and also the controller, acting controller Begay, because she's going to be playing a big part in this as well, and Department of Justice Doreen McPaul, so that we can start working towards this option of offering the 105 Lease to the Navajo Nation. So with that, Dr. Gray Eyes, you have presented to this committee before. The rules haven't changed. The time frame that you'll be allowed is 20 minutes minutes to present your information. Upon completion of providing your report, if you could just let the committee members know, that way we can go ahead and we can proceed forward with asking questions. But at this time, I want to ask the committee members for a motion and a second to hear the report from Dr. Gray Eyes regarding the operations and maintenance costs for facilities. Committee members? Motion made by Vice Chair Otto. So could I get a second? Committee members, I need a second.
Carrie, it's it.
Delegate Eugene So seconds the motion to hear the report. So with that, Dr. Gray Eyes, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you right now to present to the Law and Order Committee. Dr. Gray Eyes, the floor is yours.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, and members of the Law and Order Committee. I very much appreciate being placed on this agenda to speak about the operation and maintenance. I, for one, believe that this is such an important initiative because of the need that our programs have, any program that's running a 38 program. But for DPS, one of the things I want to say is that for all our new facilities, except Chin-Lee detention facilities are getting operation and maintenance. So Kayenta, Tibet City, Crown Point are receiving 40% of the what would have been 100% O&M money to care for the building. We're receiving only 40%. And Chin-Lee is not getting any operation and maintenance funds at all because it was built using tribal funds. And in those cases, we've been told that it's the responsibility of the Navajo Nation. So, and again, it's just for detention program only. The Navajo police, the criminal investigators, office spaces are not included in the O&M funding. So, it's so important that we file with the 105L lease because it will allow us to build the BIA for all space we currently are using right now. This also includes the courts as well and any other 638 programs. And I know that we were told when we met down in Phoenix that any support programs, for example, attorney offices, accountants, which I would assume the finance department across, we can also request at 50% reimbursement for square footage as we move forward as well. So right now, our buildings are still very new, but are starting to age. And the HVAC system, the detention systems, the camera systems are starting to go out. And we do not get enough operation and maintenance funds from the BIE, who administers the operation and maintenance to cover a lot of these. And right now, DOC alone we have 19 contracts going through the 164 on some of these large repairs. And often what we have to do is scramble, move monies around just to cover a lot of the costs. And so the 105L lease, we at least can release our space back to the Bureau of Indian Affairs to lease the building that we have built and that we own. And then secondly, we can also request for operation and maintenance be paid on these buildings. And they would pay at a higher rate than what we are getting from the BIE as far as maintaining our buildings. I think that the application process, as we understand it, will require a letter from the president to initiate the very first, we were looking at Chin-Lee, detention center and the police department as the very first application, since that building is tribally owned. It was tribally constructed, and we can move that forward. And this is going to be a learning process for whoever is assigned to get this process going. So I would encourage the committee, as well as the speaker and the president, to allow us to move forward with this. And we've been talking about this now for 2-3 years and even longer. There are now, I think, 21 contracts that have already been entertained by BIA from other tribes. So the longer we wait, what I'm afraid of is that there won't be any money left. But the need is there. We need to, I know that I get calls from my counterparts, the Navajo police from the districts, and they'll say, okay, what do we do? Our HVAC's going out. We don't have any department money to pay for this. And unfortunately, they have to right now budget from their direct services funding to pay for a lot of these repairs. We've been told by general services that these are brand new buildings. These are buildings that a lot of our maintenance technicians are unable to service because they're not certified plumbers, HVAC technicians, in our case, detention camera systems. And these are very technical, and it requires a certified person to service these buildings. And the same way with the detention cameras goes into the police buildings as well as the court buildings. So if an area goes down, often it means that we have to address a certain area. So we do have a need, and we, like I said, my department right now has 19 contracts going through the 164 process to service our buildings. The other thing that's really important is that when we do lease these buildings back to BIA, I am told we can also use those funds to construct any additional new facilities that we have plans for example, the substations, the first responder substations that we've been talking about and planning for. So I know that with the new application, we are going to have to provide what costs that we have right now already contributed to the building and getting repairs. And so DOC has been addressing these needs in different ways. First, the very minor repairs. We do have maintenance staff who will buy the minor parts. Let's say for a sink, a washer, those kinds of things. They have an open PO at each of their areas to pick those up, and they do repairs. But for the more technical pieces, we have to run that through the 164 process. And one contract can take up to 6 months to put in place. So right now, just as an example, our Tibet City HVAC system was to a large extent destroyed by the recent rains and lightning. Someone had removed the copper wire that was running down one of the poles as a prevention measure. But when things like that happen, it really impacts to a large extent. And so we're out on our RFP to get our HVAC system repaired in Tibet City. So, and Kayenta, we've been having a lot of problems with the detention systems. And I know that Kayenta PD has had a lot of problems with their HVACs, and they don't have the money to pay for repair of these. And these are very technical equipment that need to be replaced by companies who are certified and licensed to do this. Let's see. Now, Crown Point is set up a little bit differently where, because BIA contributed some funds for the construction of the Justice Center, they have continued to be involved in helping us with their maintenance. So if something goes down, our staff are able to bring the BIA maintenance on site and get repairs done. So Crown Point's been doing well in that respect. But the other locations, obviously, there is a need for us to move forward with this 501 lease. The money's there. We need to, as soon as possible, jump on board and do the application. I understand from the meetings that we've had with Jason Friage and other staff that they're willing to work along with us to help us get this application done. And each building equals one lease. So I know that back in, I believe, April, I did send an email to the Office of the President to let him know that this is important. I also included a list of the current buildings that we should apply for, and it will require a letter from the President to move forward on this. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Dr. Gray. So just for clarification, you are stating that you are completed with providing the Law and Order Committee report regarding the 105L lease and operations and maintenance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gray Eyes. So with that, committee members, a motion and a second has been established, and the report has been provided to us here by Dr. Gray Eyes. Just for clarification, committee members, Dr. Gray Eyes and myself and Division Director Jesse Delmar, we have been working on this 105L lease since 2020. When we became aware of the lease. And many times I have brought it up as an option to help pay for facilities and then to also cover the operations and maintenance. And just to be clear for the delegates who are listening in, there are actually three main separate costs in building the facilities that are needed here on Navajo Nation. Number one is building the actual building itself. So once the building is built, the next issue that we run into is the actual operations and maintenance of the facilities. And then the third is putting bodies into these facilities. I guess in a way, the best way to describe that is hiring, making sure we have enough police officers or staff available once the new facilities have been built. As a reminder, committee members and delegates who are listening in January of 2020, we did hold a work session on this very issue. And it was at that time that council directed the Law and Order Committee to get questions answered, which we have been working on. And the final product of coming back to council will be funding the facilities with a 105L lease. However, we do run into some problems. And number one is we cannot use any federal funds to build the facility and enter into the 105L lease. That's something that cannot be done. And that was one of the big issues that we did run into with ARPA. However, the way around that we were presented by BIA and the Department of Treasury was to leverage the funds, the ARPA funds, which is something we could have did to build the facilities and then be able to enter into the 105L lease. However, the ARPA money is all gone now. So now our only other two options is to enter into a bond. And I did meet with the investment committee 2 weeks ago, and I presented both Key Bank and myself, we presented some information to the investment committee. However, Department of Justice did state that they don't believe this to be an investment, even though it is a leasing option that BIA is offering. And so the investment committee has really been dragging their feet on this, this issue. And it doesn't sound like we're going to get very much support from moving forward with the bond option. The second option right now that we could proceed forward is to use the citizen funds and then in one packet submit all the facilities that are built with the citizen funds, submit that one packet to BIA and enter into a 105L lease covering all of those facilities that would be covered under that one packet. And we have been talking to BIA on this issue for the last 2 years in ways that we can get everything covered. So that's what Dr. Gray Eyes has indicated the importance of this option. So just know that that Law and Order Committee, we have been working on this along with Division of Public Safety. Judicial branch really hasn't been involved in the conversations. They were invited a few times to listen in. I don't know, what we were told by BIA is as long as you have a 638 contract and the ISDEA language is in there, that the 105L lease is an option. But it's a little bit, I guess it's a little bit more complicated. It sounds like if we go building by building, and the recommendation is that we just submit one packet on behalf of the Navajo Nation if we do request the citizen funds or the bond funding. Right now, the BIA is recommending 2 tribes that we either do a bond or we go through a loan process, because they said that that might be the fastest way to get this 105L lease option taken care of. As Dr. Gray Eyes has indicated, 21 tribes have already entered into 105L lease options with BIA. And Navajo, of course, is getting further and further behind. I've sent several emails to leadership asking that we have a meeting to discuss this option. Whenever we have a 105L lease meeting with BIA, we've invited DOJ, we've invited many people, but it's usually just Dr. Gray Eyes and myself as well as BIA on the call, trying to figure out how we can move this forward. So committee members, you guys are all CC'd on these emails that do go back and forth, but we have been pushing to try to get Navajo Nation to start moving on this option with really little assistance from the president's office and little assistance coming from the speaker's office with the 105L lease. Speaker, actually Chair Hanyo has been pushing, because he sits on the investment committee, he has been pushing, he was actually, both him and Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair were the ones who got the report of the public safety and facility, I guess, listings onto the investment agenda. But since then, really not much has been done. We do have currently a request that came through for $247,134, but we do have to remove the Kayenta facility from the listing. That was I believe that was originally on the listing, but we're going to go ahead and remove that one since Delegate Nathaniel Brown had gotten funding for that. And so the request right now is $247,134,000, and that would cover the Shiprock facility, the Delcon facility, the Regional Training Academy, which is going to be the First Responders Training Academy, the Pinyon Judicial Law Enforcement Building, the Window Rock Peacemaking Complex, and then a few of the substations, Alamo, Aneth, Tohajale, Tohatchi, Saley, and Shiprock is on that as well. And these are all of the facilities per Division of Public Safety and per the judicial branch. These are the facilities that have been selected as being ready, more than 90% ready to go. All of them are slated for 95%. And the reason they are slated for 95% right now when it comes to the project design status is we do have to get the BIA to move forward. They are aware of this listing. They are aware that these facilities do have blueprints. So I think what we also have to include on this listing is the Window Rock facility. The reason why Window Rock was not included on this was because at the time, there was no land withdrawal done for the Window Rock facility. The police department kept going back and forth on whether they wanted to keep it in Window Rock or whether they wanted to move it to Fort Defiance, but I believe that that decision has been made. So the Window Rock facility planning and design will be included in this as well. So that's just kind of an update as to where we're at. We have, again, been working closely with the Bureau of Indian Affairs Office of Justice Services. I want to say almost every other week or at least once a month, both myself and Dr. Gray Eyes are meeting with them to get information and to get updates because it's changing. The 105L lease is a new program. And it is a new program that is designed to help assist tribes with building their facilities. Congress right now did give ample, I guess, money funds for this 105L lease program. And as Dr. Gray I stated, we've already got 21 tribes that have already entered into 105L lease contracts with the BIA, Navajo not being one of them. And we're just trying to get, we're trying to herd cats right now to get everybody on board so that we can come up with a plan, because as Dr. Gray I stated, it will take the president's office and it will take council, to have to come together, and it will take DOJ, controller's office to come together for this 105L lease option because it is very, very new. So with that, committee members, that's just a little bit of information in terms of what has been going on behalf of the Law and Order Committee, the work that has been done, and also the advocacy trips that we have been taking to Washington, D.C. in regards of the public safety facility needs of the Navajo Nation. This $247 million that I just now shared, that doesn't cover the entire need of the Navajo Nation. These are just the projects that are ready to go, meaning if the money was given today, they would probably start construction as early as tomorrow because you're all set and ready to go. So with that, committee members, are there any questions for Dr. Gray Eyes regarding the 105L lease and the operation? Vice Chair Otto, so the floor is yours.
Yeah. Along with the 105L leasing proposal here, I believe as we move forward, our current facilities that were not built with ARA dollars, I believe those should be the first to be committed to the 105 Leasing Act. That way, we can utilize that as a process, and utilize that as the template for the 105L Leasing Act, because the other facility for the build out is going to take time to get to 105L leasing, but the current facilities, I think that's what we should really push to get under L leasing facilities that are only built by Navajo dollars. And I believe Madam Director for the Provision of Correction has indicated that I think there's one or two facilities on Navajo that was not built with ARA dollars. So those should move forward. The other is maybe to clear out the federal dollars, for instance, whatever was, I believe Tibet City was built with some IRA dollars. And if there's a discussion that maybe the Navajo Nation can reimburse the federal government, so when this bond comes out, we could utilize those bond monies to reimburse the government, give their money back that was contributed through ARA, so that we could get the existing facilities onto the 105 Leasing Act. That way, we could start charging on that side. if the government's going to say, yeah, we pump money into it, but probably don't hurt to say, okay, since you pumped your money into it, let's go reimburse you for what you pumped into it, so we could say it's a Navajo, 100% Navajo-owned facility, and that way we could enter into the 105 Leasing Act at the tail end of it. That's another suggestion that we could do, because as we move forward with the bond financing, really hope that the Division of Public Safety and Department of Correction is actually looking at the cost of expanding out on the facilities. Right now, the 638 contract applies and allows so many Navajo Nation police officers to be hired. I think the number right now is like, I think if the contract is maxed out, I believe it's like maybe, I'm just going to throw a number out there. I think it's 230 police officers. But what I'm getting to, as we build out on these buildings, we have to look at those districts where the buildings are going to be built. For instance, the kitchen, I know they've been asking for a facility. Do we have the manpower to carry over, so that the manpower is not impacted in the town of Chinle, nor the current facility in Delicon. We know that there's a police station there, but you look at the number of police officers and number of staff. The staff is probably low. It's probably not as high as Tibet City, but what I'm getting to is that maybe the proposed facility could be proposed is that we downscale it to fit the need there, because the need there, if you look at the population base in the region there, what is the population base? And you look at the census count and so forth, it's there. But I think building large facilities in an area that the same thing for Pinyon too. We need to maybe build those facilities where it meets the current population status. That way, we're not building these gigantic facilities, and you and I, we all know that we're under the microscope from U.S. DOJ pertaining to the build out of these facilities, where we use federal dollars, which those audit findings are still moving forth. So, and we need to really look at it to a point where we're just not building a facility and say, oh, we're going to build a 200 facility bed in the area where you only have like maybe like 400 people living in there year round. But we have to look at the economics of it, though, and then the $638 that come in from Indian House from our 638 contract. We only get enough dollars for 200 and roughly, I think, 225 police officers, and we haven't seen an increase yet. So we build out these facilities and try to continue to expand. We definitely have to find an offset to actually employ additional police officers and employ additional correction officers and employ additional criminal investigators through Navajo Nation General Fund. And that really, that's going to be a big impact to the nation. Like right now, we have 21 million in the permanent fund excess interest income. I know we did set it aside, but this is one goal that we could get to say, hey, let's just say put that aside in the name of public safety. But I guarantee you, many delegates are going to say no. So, you know, we have $21 million there that we can infuse into public safety. But, you know, but we're going to have to start infusing our own tribal dollars at some point to increase the police workforce demand. Not only police officers, the civilian employees also, people to man the phone, people to conduct the transport. Madam Division Director for Division of Correction needs new transport vehicles. Her transport vehicles are going to be going down soon, and once she grounds them, she's not going to be able to transport prisoners from, you know, for instance, like from, you know, Shiprock to Kayenta. That vehicle will not be able to go. So we have to find some transport dollars for her so that it does not impact that. Because if we cannot provide those services, it's no use pushing the plan for the expansion of the of public safety. We have to take care of what we have to take care of within our means at this time. Oh, without Oban, just kiss. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for that. So just really quickly, in terms of the ARA dollar facilities, we cannot enter into 105L leases with those facilities because ARA is federal funds. We cannot use federal funds and then enter into the 105L lease. That's why the BIA is recommending either a bond or a loan to cover the cost, because they're saying that that's probably the fastest way that we could enter into the 105L lease. The other option is to use tribal funds, and that's why Director Gray Eyes did state at the very beginning that Chinle right now is the O&M costs are covered with all the facilities except for Chinle, because I think that ARA money covered some of that, but I'll let Dr. Gray Eyes cover how Tuba City and also the other facilities are covered with operations and maintenance and not Chinle. Dr. Gray Eyes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me go through each location and tell you how they were funded. The Tuba City Correction Facility, the corrections building was used to build the majority of the building. Now, the courts and law enforcement were built using Navajo Nation funds. This is the Key Bank loan. So we could, use those two buildings. And then moving to Kayenta, both the corrections building and the police building were used ERA funds. There, I did a justification when Lieutenant Thin was there, and there was some assistance from the police department coming in to help in the facility, doing booking and sometimes security and other things. And that was the justification that I used to allow us to use the ERA funds to build the building. So, and then coming into Chinle, we used all the leftover Key Bank loan funds. So all of the Chinle buildings were built using the Key Bank loan funds. And then moving over to Crown Point, we used the Key Bank loan funds, and BIA contributed about $21 million to help build a building. So that's how those buildings were built. And so if you look at the Tuba City Police Building, and I'm not sure, and then the Chinle campus we can use to get the 105 lease. I'm having difficulty talking this morning, but the other that I didn't mention in my earlier presentation was that any locations where we're leasing office space, for example, the Window Rock headquarters, Division of Public Safety headquarters moved over to the Fort Defiance Window Rock School building, that we can include that building as part of entering into a lease to get the monies back for what we put into. And then any modulars that we're currently using, we can also apply there as well. The only catch is that we have to show that we own these buildings, and there's a number of police buildings that are being, like here in Window Rock, there's like 2 buildings that I know of that are being used by investigations, EMTs, and then also the dispatch, and then another modular by the Window Rock command office as well. So that was the last conversation when we had our telephone meeting with the BIA folks about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So so we can attempt to do those leases as well using the modulars. And then the 2 modulars that we will be purchasing. And I did ask, Madam Chair, I did ask the question, what if the buildings were built using federal money? And I'm trying to remember what Jason said. And I thought it was, I think we just need to get clarification on that to make sure. I thought I had heard that we could if we weren't getting O&M monies for those buildings. So in those situations, I think we can ask for O&M operation and maintenance, and maybe not the lease, but we'll need to get clarification. So that's the extent of my report again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. And I was going back into my notes regarding that question, because I do remember you asked that question about the buildings that are already built with federal funds. And yes, they did say that we can't enter into the 105L lease, but we could request for operations and maintenance with the caveat that it would only cover 40% of the operations and maintenance. And that's when he explained that under the 105L lease, we can get up to possibly 80% of operations and maintenance covers costs covered if we enter into the 105L lease. But if we do it separate and federal funds were used, then it may cover up to 40% of O&M. I think that's what I have, but we can get clarification. I have that down on my notes to ask that question again, but thank you. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Can you hear me?
We'll go ahead and go to, well, I guess, Vice Chair, was there a follow-up question?
Yes, this is just a clarification.
Vice Chair Otto So. After that, we'll go ahead and go to Delegate Eugene So. Vice Chair,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What I was alluding to pertaining to the federal funds that built our current facilities out is that maybe a question could be posed to the USC or to OJS, that what if the Navajo Nation repays the IRA dollars back to the federal government, the resources that they have injected into the new facilities, and we use the bond financing to do that. So on record, we return the monies back to the federal government, but what they have infused. And we use that bond finance to assume full 100% Navajo control. That way we could say it's Navajo facilities 100% with the current facilities. And then from there, moving on to enter into the 105 Leasing Act. Because I do understand the federal position. If the building is built with federal dollars and it stays like that, you know, yes, we can't go into the 105 Leasing Act. But the bigger question is, what if the nation gives back the IRA dollars, reimburse the federal government so that we can take control of the full facility under Navajo to say it's ours in here? From there, we can move forward to go into the Leasing Act. And if the federal government says, hey, those dollars are built with federal dollars, we gave the money back to you. So, yeah, that was just a clarification of what I was alluding to pertaining to the current facility. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair. Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
Waditsa.
Oh, Ahwaditsa.
Oh, I led out. Hey, I had to tell. Oh, catch me. What I had to sit. Oh, but I always try to train the speaker that should say, all you have to say, oh, that means they can hear me. Now we in regards to E by SQE, to me, it seems that we're just talking and around and doing reports around and around. I believe if we were to drop the legislation a year, 2 years ago in this regards for funds, keeping Yanni Katie, I reckon we would have got some money for it to build at least one building. Anyway, but that's how I understand it. Because there's only we work with the laws and the regulation bylaws that but there's a problem or there's an issue or concern. As a council delegate, we look into the laws and we got the OLC on our side to look into all these laws and how we can, if it needs to be corrected, we need to correct it, amend it. And the same goes with this 638 contract. It's been going on for I don't know how long. We've been a contract tribe, and in those contracts, pretty sure there are languages that say how the money should be used and when and etc. It should be as on it as on it. As council delegate, we work with that. So, and since 638 came on to the reservation, I believe no council delegates has ever tried to challenge it in regards to our data, our population, and the way we live. I'm pretty sure if we did, maybe we would have a better offer on these contracts, because our population versus the police department officers, there's a lot of people out there, and there's just police officers. How long was we doing that? Where we sit with this contract 638, also what's out on this whole God. And then also we're talking about maintenance percentage. And I need other call in why would we go with that? The maintenance only certain percent, etc. These are some of the things I've been hearing a lot throughout my almost 4 years, and I've been trying to say this is what our job is. All we needed to do was drop legislation that the LOC go to work on it with the police department, etc. When it's all cut off, that's where all the findings where it needs to be challenged. If we have to challenge, it has to go to litigation with these contracts that we've been getting from the federal government. to me, it's really nothing. It's all nothing. Or with these reports and all these meetings, seems that we're just fighting more than we can chew. The more we go to meet, the more things that they put on to say you have to do this, you have to do that. Maybe if we would have just stopped that legislation, go by the way what we were working with, we can see that it on the last year would have been done. That's how I see it. I don't really believe in just getting reports and then what really means the main thing for I'm looking for a report is when the report, whoever's making a report, I would look for and listen for any issues concern they have, and then I would go after that issues of concern and drop the legislation in that regards, because they came to our committee and saying this and that. So so that we need to drop the legislation for that. That's how I see as a council delegate. That's how I feel that's my job. So in this case, like Chinley don't have a really the police station just there. It seems that the people that get caught or if we would have just dropped the legislation in that regards, we would have got more money for that. That would have been also maybe there's answer our confidence need on that with the DOJ. So those are some of the things that only needs. And to me, that's how I see it on the GE car when I see listen to the reports and going to meetings and just listen. And we write down everything and we know everything about everything. But instead of doing something with it, we just have it. Instead of dropping the legislation, which we should have done, we just keep on going and going and going. Every time we had a meeting, that's why I always try to say, where the target is missing the targets way off. So to me, I would feel we should drop the legislation. In this regard, LOC, our council, let them go to work on it and let them go forward with it, with the police department, with the Gray Eyes and the Delmore, etc. And we can find funds, and we will be always advocating for that fund when time comes. So it can happen. Instead of next year, we might be saying the same thing again. So because BIA, I've been trying to get land for my people. There's a virgin land that they never use. And I've been trying to get that land to put a big building on. I would have by now, but the BIA just are dragging their feet, seems like. So I really got accident the other week. The Christian Council does it, yeah. And now they took, I don't know how long it took for you to get the police department and the academy and all that correction. For, it was BIA's land. It's gone, but he said, it's a virgin land. It was the snow, which the other week. So these are some of the things that we have, and we need to make a strong legislation to really go after the 638. If we're going to keep using 638, to me, that's just all about open in Ireland. We don't get what we really want to use it for. It's just a need to go all gravy. Gravy, I don't know, gravy, so that's a really poor man's meal, but that's how we grew up, some of us. So which at the 638 is just like a grease that we can make gravy out of it and try to serve everybody. So to me, it feels, it's really unaccounted for. And where we should be as a council delegate, and where we should be advocating for our people, where the police department should be standing right now, where everything should be met, but we're not getting nowhere with these meetings and these reports, etc. We need to do something right away. If not, maybe I can talk to Dana and some legislation. But I don't say so. We need to get these laws on top. People has only because I know she does not so has only had it. So if it needs to go to litigation, we need to go to that route. We've been doing it for a long time now. But there's a lot of litigation going on with the Navajo Nation, within the Navajo Nation. But what's to go on in your bashin that Sasadit always what it is. And we know every word, everything on everything. It seems that when we're talking. I was bad the husband, general that was bad the husband, but how come we're still just talking? Khalid, I think all years. Khalid, I was bad the husband, I was bad the husband. No, would they just do this? This is what we're there for as a council delegate to drop legislation to get these laws to working for us. And so that's all, but I'm just kidding. But that's how I am. I'm sorry, but I should say, admin. That's how I feel. That's how I feel a council delegate should be. Without illness, but and right now, it seems that we've been in the same place for, like Eugenia was saying, two years now. How long would that take? Just start with legislation. Let's go for it. Do something with it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Delegate Eugene. So just so you know, I did drop legislation, both requesting, with one legislation is to move forward with the bond, and the second legislation is to move forward with citizen funds. So both legislations have been dropped with Dana, and so that's why we're trying to move things along. Director Gray Eyes, I'm going to turn the floor over to you to answer the questions that were posed by Delegate Otto So and also Delegate Eugene So.
To Jiaj Otto So, as far as the discussion around returning the funds to the federal government, that would be a question for the attorneys to discuss. So I believe that was your discussion around how you're thinking and how the nation might best benefit from the lease, the 105 lease. And then as far as Eugene, so I didn't become involved in the 105 lease. I know until recently, maybe a year ago, but I know that there were discussions around this by Yatkio. But as I stated, as a department director and having been involved in the planning of new facilities, justice centers across the Navajo Nation, there is the need for operation and maintenance. I know that the nation itself, the facility maintenance, aren't able to maintenance these buildings because of the type of equipment that are being used, and very much more advanced than what the staffing that facility maintenance has. So, and then we benefit from the leasing if we lease buildings back so that we can receive funds to continue to build new facilities for our first responders, again, which we have a plan for, and we've been planning for a lot of this since 2003. The Salau Baganigi, Adowalia Nahas Ado, the Adahuin Nahas Ago Yego, Nahoti, no, Ita Nahat Agi, Hat Igit, Konzate. And the problem that we run into, of course, Jashi plans the whole loan, the peso gipan hatten. And so, Diko at least Ninigi, Edepe, Lato, Sahotoni, Joilno, ya, Kodo, Bayadelki, and so on, Saskes. Of course, he has seen the Schneeder Law and Order Committee, Naha, Nahot Egi, Nahabanda, Any Hansen. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gray Eyes. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Madam Chair, Vice Chairman?
Vice Chair Adoso, the floor is yours.
Yes, with this 05 Leasing Act, and as we move forward with the bond financing initiative, I think the projects that should be under the bond financing up on the upper slate, the top priority is that the facilities that we know that we could go into directly to the LO5 Leasing Act. I think we need to prioritize that way, because I think that's the main initiative for this bond financing, is to get the bond finance and utilize the opportunity of the LO5 105 Leasing Act. So if we're going to build a new facility, this is just thinking outside of the box. Say, oh, okay, let's go move forward with Pinion facility. And we just need to make sure that Department of Corrections, that facility will be manned up. We do have the adequate manpower to run that facility, because I don't want public safety to be pulling personnel from Chin Lee over to Pinion to man up the new facility. It's going to be great that may go under LO5 Leasing Act, but we have to make sure that we are within our 638 contract. The monies that we get, we only get as much as what Congress appropriates. It's not a set amount. There's no negotiation that indicates any fund increases for these contracts. So we get about the same amount each time. So meaning that none that we move out to do this, to expand out, we have to stay within our means. We just cannot go and just say, oh, just build one over here, and then we're going to have to think about the manpower again. We're going to be pulling employees from different districts into that region. So as long as we are within our financial means, it's okay. If we're only going to rely on the 638 contract to man up the facilities. Because, like I say, at some point, we're going to have to start infusing general fund dollars to fund the police department, the also corrections and criminal investigation and juvenile, because what we're getting from the federal government is really not enough. Even just to make sure. I hope Mr. Delmore is on the line, and then Ms. Gray Eyes, and make sure that we are within our means as we move forward to go with these build outs. Then again, Madam Chair, that we list the potential 105 projects, 105 leasing projects up on the top slate. That way we know that we fund those, and that's a project that's eligible for that 105 Leasing Act, and then we can go into that lease and we could get some revenue on there. The other is that when those revenue comes in again, we need to sit down and start setting up a strategy on how those dollars are going to be utilized. We continue to build out. We're going to have to find a way, a funding mechanism to fund that the additional resources to fund the police department program, the public safety program. So, day out, so 1 minute.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair. Dr. Gray Eyes, I'm going to turn the floor over to you at this time.
I know that Director Delmar said he was also going to be on the call. I want to invite him to join us in this discussion, as well as Chief Noon. In responding to your question, Shiaj, I know that the Law and Order Committee had reviewed the priority list and went down and identified which ones we needed to work on, which ones we needed to downsize, for the very reason that you discussed the need for manpower. A lot of the, for example, a lot of the work that was done in Delcon and Pinion and some of the substations, it was the community who came together, brought funds to the table to come to where they're at today. Hashing sagot bigin the ha'ao, not only dan lenigi, diko and hidra and hot equate Pinion, Delcon, Adon Le, Alamo, Tohajile, and put out yin the ha'a from the community level. Ukoko ni kodo ya was stand kode ni ka o je ni ka and that no di ko put out ni je na hot just ko and ashwa but the planning it's the community planning audience, and they use a lot of the incidents that are occurring in their community. That is Ishin Nacha Kot Abin the Hata Nas Adonana Niden o di Quer Salana Ado di Salado Ini Nene Adonana di corrections di Salao Kode Owalia for Salon Leniki Yegon Hidrin Hoti Ad Ajod the net best egg on hit the net best ego na nishiti nishiki jiti besogi yego but we don't have the funding necessary to respond to every call, maintain individuals in the jail facility for as long as we need to. I know I'm going off subject, but because Shiaj, you said that Obeta ilni has ani hodlo hashin sabakun the now what tato the atlaw benna you have adult the net he lago at bikeho the not out. Ado Saladon, so the prosecutor, Jokoit obey ilni, dobe go a coco, lata the kuidishin hen, ilso, the hikodio scene hit at Ninigi, the netto base, so though a while yes, a dago, a coco, I know that law and order hashing to go Title 17 Yunashnish. Abadan nishuk at the Kushinachi. Edo at Skinko, Yat Edo, Leshoko Edi, and Tahas Iki, Nika at all. We can only work with the resources that are given to us. We can only work with the laws within the Navajo Nation. Yela a slinky be ye dobe. A coco so has speak ole. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gray Eyes. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time regarding this report?
Madam Chair, it's
Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
did that Aggie what kind of isn't I just text Dana to see where we can get some funds for extra police officers. I don't know how the law would be if they're not under the 638 contract, and if it be under our funds. I don't know, is there any legislation or language in there that would not, thought that is on the hit up a cop additional. So that would be my question. I mean, what she's saying, to respond to what she's saying, that we do need officers. And I know Bahazan was the case, and I just tell you, Bahazan, yeah. So it on the we do need it because we're in day and age where the Bible and also our elders have a prophecy that says one day our kids are going to turn on us. Not all God and shed not all this are still going to become our enemies. The shedding not all this standing it. The older people are screening us on or disease right now. So we're all actually going against our own kids with these ayat that cases allow our internet to our police officer and our own kids that are committing crimes across the Navajo Nation. So it's none without this. So even now, how can we do it? Well, my only answer was what we were discussing at the DAP in regards to parenting, and we really need to put fun parenting. See, I wish it could be become part of curriculum where they had to have that education to graduate from high school. I just wish it's like that. It would really cut down crime, and I'll tell you, it's going to be about maybe 60% to 80% might be cut off for what is going on right there. But this is how I see it. Because we will forever race with crime if we don't do nothing at the home level. It's going to be forever trying to look for police officer, trying to get prosecutors, etc. When we all we're just in a big race with crime if we don't change the roots of it for parenting. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Delegate Eugene. So I think that is pretty much the question that we have been asking for the last 3 years is how can we assist with improving or increasing the number of police officers? And we've had several meetings, Delegate Eugene. So some of them, I know that you were able to attend, some of them you weren't able to attend. However, we had those discussions with Chief Noon and also Director Delmar. One of those, I guess, one of the ways that we could try to keep our officers was to offer this bonus that Delegate Vince James has requested that we add on to the agenda as a report. But there's other issues that we are running into, and part of that is Delegate Otto So's question or his concern regarding, the 638 contract and when leadership can be involved in increasing those funds. Because when we go there to Washington, D.C., one of the things that we're constantly told over and over again is Navajo has the opportunity to address some of these issues during the time that contracts are being negotiated for the 638 funds. So right now we know that detention's contract is coming up. And we have been trying to, I did send an email asking how do we get involved in the process as leadership for Law and Order Committee? How do we, how can we advocate to increase those fundings? I haven't got a response back yet. That was an email that was sent to President's Office and also OMB and DOJ. Again, no response has been provided. So I'm not sure, if we just set up a meeting with BIA, and I think that's something that we should be working towards right now. Do we have Dana on the line?
Madam Chair.
Anybody from Office of Legislative Counsel on the line?
This is Dana. I just had problems unmuting. So yes, I've been listening.
Dana, quick question. As you may recall, Dana, I think I CC'd you on that email. It was a few months ago where we got information on the 638 contracts and then when they were slated to be, I guess, where we could advocate for more funding to renegotiate on the 638 funds. I know that you were part of that conversation at that time. So my question to you, Dana, is how do we, the Law and Order Committee, how can we be involved in those talks to start renegotiating to increase the funds for detention? I believe in that email, Dr. Gray Eyes did stress the importance of increasing the funds for the adult detention because funds were used from the juvenile detention to help with some of the costs the last time around. And so I know I did send an email asking, how can we get involved and at what date, should we schedule a meeting, but I haven't heard a response back yet. So my question to you, Dana, is how can the Law and Order Committee get involved in renegotiating the 638 contract for detention?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I've mentioned, I think before, I'm not sure if it was to this committee or another committee, so let me recap. The negotiation of the 638 contracts, that is an executive branch. That is an executive branch function. It does come back to the Law and Order Committee for review before it goes on to NABI. So you get that review at that time. To be actually involved in the negotiations, that would be something that you probably would want to coordinate with Department of Justice. Certainly, I personally see no reason why a Law and Order Committee member couldn't sit in on the negotiations. The only caveat to that is I don't know if they're doing negotiations in person or if they're doing them virtually. In the past, I mean, and this was years ago, but when I was at DOJ and I worked on 638 contracts and the negotiations and such, I indeed had a Law and Order Committee member sit in on the negotiations. I think it was actually, and it was actually for DPS. It was, oh shoot, I can picture him. Ken Pete Etzity, or Pete Ken Etzity, was the Law and Order Committee member who sat in, and I got to say he did a good job as far as recognizing what could be negotiated, what couldn't be negotiated, and also he coordinated very well with DPS and the Department of Justice on the negotiations. I think really important to this committee, also to all of the committees, and it comes from something that Vice Chair Otto so identified, and it's absolutely correct. By the time the nation gets started to negotiate its contracts, the BIA does not have any authority to raise the funds beyond what Congress has appropriated. So the negotiations aren't so much about, not so much about money. They're more about scopes of work. So most of the times in the past, the committees have their support of 638 contracts has been through lobbying Congress, et cetera, to appropriate more money. one of the concerns that I hope somebody's pushing, because it's always been a frustration to myself, and I feel like it should be a frustration to others, is the fact that the way the system works is that the BIA Central, and I'm not going to get the name of all of the BIA programs correct, because it's been too long, but the dollars go into the BIA in DC, those appropriated by Congress go to we're going to call it the BIA Central Office in DC, and then at the central office, they are the ones who make a determination as to how the funds should be dispersed between the various BIA regions across the country. So my question that I have never been able to get a good answer on is, what formula is the BIA Central Office using to determine how much funds that the nation gets, how much funds each region gets? I have never been able to get a clear answer from the BIA on that, regardless of who you ask. And so anyway, I apologize. I started ranting, got on my soapbox a little bit about that issue. But back to the question that was posed was, how can the Law and Order Committee get involved in the negotiations? My recommendation is that there's nothing against the BIA, against the Law and Order Committee sitting in on the negotiations. That would be a request to DOJ and to the Department of Public Safety. So it doesn't even need legislation to be able to do that. So back to you, Chairwoman, and I apologize if I rambled on too much.
Madam Chair, this is Dr. Gray Eyes.
Madam Chair, call the vote too.
Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation, Dana. I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute. Every time I did the *6, I didn't hear whether I was muted or unmuted until I did it a couple of times, so I apologize for that. But thank you for that explanation, Dana. Dr. Gray Eyes, I know that you said that you wanted to add a few more, a statement to that, so I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, and then also thank you, Dana, for your response in the contract negotiations. I know that we have had several meetings with BIA here at Central, as well as here and in DC, and their recommendation was for us to negotiate at the time of the contract renewal for the Department of Corrections. Our contract renewals are coming up this year, and our legislation, our packet is over at Legislative Council, and Vice Chair Otto has been asked to present or sponsor the legislation. I think that it is time to negotiate, and I've been working here and there with Cordell Shorty, our contracting officer, to we've sent a number of letters, just the need for replacement of vehicles, uniforms. Sometimes we run a shortfall. And during the COVID period was a really difficult time for us because we didn't get any extra money from anywhere really to pay for the special and hazard pay. We had to draw on our unspent personnel funds to pay our officers there. And so I think it's important that the Law and Order Committee be involved to help us to negotiate. Each year, we're told by OMB that we use last year's base funding as a new request, and that the only time that we can ask for additional money is at the time we are negotiating our contract. Even at that, when I submitted my packet, we were told to use the base funding from last year in this current AFA, even though it's a contract renewal. We are really hurting, my department is. And again, I want to add, and I know this isn't the subject we're talking about, but I feel like I have the opportunity to speak to it. I, as like our law enforcement department and losing officers to local Indian health services and other security organizations who are paying slightly higher than what we are paying our officers, and they have the ability to provide deferential pay. Any overtime, holiday pay that they earn, they get paid out the following pay period after they've earned it. And because of the system, the way the nation works, our requests are delayed, much delayed, and obviously the department has to have money. And when we're short on money, those overtime holiday pays have to wait until we can find money to pay them out. And the same scenario happened with the hazard and special duty pay. And I lost a lot of officers as a result of what happened during that period, not only because of COVID, the fear that it put into people. It's just people just didn't get paid for a long time. I think some of them took up as much as 6 to 9 months before we were able to pay. And again, it all goes back to not having the monies available. And right now I have transport units that are over 200,000 miles. And I haven't bought brand new uniforms for my officers. And gosh, I want to say in some districts more than 3 years. And they need to have new uniforms, new equipment. I've made my requests to BIA to no response. So I just want to add that since the opportunity itself has been presented. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gray. And thank you for letting us know what you have been, I guess, advocating for. Somebody's phone's ringing in the background. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Vice Chair Stowe?
Vice Chair Otto Stowe, the floor is yours.
Delegate Brigadier.
I really like to indicate that we do, well, first is that I did ask a question at one point, who is authorized to negotiate on behalf of the Navajo Nation? And at the time, I believe a language was showed to me, and the negotiator is OMB, Ralph Shorty. And that is the individual that negotiates federal government. And I believe we asked him at one point, what happened, Cordell? And he just said, oh, they just send us a document and make us review our scope of work. And what Madam Legislative Council Dana Barboff indicated is that the work, the funding that comes down the pipeline is based off of the scope of work. There's no other language in the contract that indicates maybe adjustment based off of the population margin, so forth. But I think we need to go, if Dana can get that get that language. I know that that language was showed to me. That it was showed to me by Office of Legislative Counsel, someone, but it indicates that OMB is the negotiator. So at this time, what I would recommend, Madam Chair, is that we get that information forward to the committee and we just amend the law. Take Law and Order Committee in there by law. That way, we can listen to what the negotiation is. Because I assume that there was like a formal meeting where you had 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 people sitting from each side, going through the contract, going through the proposed contract, and meeting each other in the middle. But to what Mr. Cordell Shorty has indicated to the committee at the time is that, they just give us the scope of work and we'll just review it and we'll check ours and see if the scope of work is okay with the program, and if it checks out, we'll just submit it back to them. So my thought is, what expertise does Cordell Shorty has in public safety to make that decision on behalf of the Navajo Nation? Is he out there coming across issues that our police officers, nor our criminal investigators, or Department of Correction facility employees come across, where funding are needed, additional resources? Even and I think we have to change the law where the negotiation of the contract. We need to maybe change OMB's directive just as a advisory position. And we need to get the committee. We need to get the division director, and we need to get the department manager at the table when these negotiations happen. Because right now, as I indicated, Mr. Cordell Shorty is making that decision on behalf of the Navajo Nation after everybody signs off. Then the president signs off. So that's a major change factor that I think we need to go through. One area, maybe we need to call a special Law and Order Committee meeting just to dissect Mr. Cordell Shorty, because he is the lead negotiator on behalf of the Navajo Nation. And that probably goes for all 638 contracts that the Navajo Nation has, whether it's Department of Health and, Department of Natural Resources. OMB, they're negotiating. Even because I remember indicating on what authority does OMB have to negotiate on behalf of the Navajo Nation. I believe that was the question I posed. And then that document came out, and it is law that has on it. And I think we need to go back to the table on that and have the negotiation people at the table to be amended, because OMB is not leadership of the Navajo Nation. And that is one of my issues. Why do we have non-elected individuals at the table making decisions on behalf of the whole entire Navajo Nation, and it's impacting the Navajo people? But yet they're just agreeing to whatever the federal government gives them. Agree to this. As one of the 7 treaty tribes that's left in the United States, I think how Navajo made its policies many years ago. I don't know when it was made, maybe during the Shirley administration, but I would get get OMB out of there and just put him in as advisory. put leadership at the table, because those are the individuals that should be negotiating on behalf of the Navajo Nation. These funds are tied to monies that come down the pipeline, whether it's the resources based off of the census data. Any federal funds that is appropriated is based off the census data. And the 2020 census even that information OMB don't know. So somehow we really need to bring in OMB, get more information from him, so that we can try to change policy so that we get the correct individuals to the table. And OMB is just there just to make sure that when the negotiation's done and so forth, they just make sure that they cross the T's and dot the I's. So they're making decisions that's directly impacting the Navajo people, but yet they're not elected officials. Then the other too is that we need to have a representative from the Budget and Finance Committee at the table there as part of the negotiation committee, because eventually these 638 contract alludes to the financial dollars that come in, that is pumped into the nation from the federal government. And I think that's just something to make sure. That way, there's a communication line from the committee level to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Otto. So with that, Vice Chair, that sounded like it was a comment, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Dana, since you, it sounded like there was a question that you asked that Dana may have answered, if I'm understanding what your comment is. Dana?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Delegate So is correct that the statutory authority for the negotiation of 638 contracts and actually what the under 638, the 638 laws, the Indian Self-Determination Act, and various regulations, the nation needs to identify a contracting officer. Each tribe does. The nation has delegated that authority to OMB in its contracts and grants section. Cordell Shorty is the director of the contracts and grants section, so he is identified as the nation's contracting officer. I will send out in a few minutes that statute that shows that. One of the things that I think may have been missed, and perhaps Miss Gray Eyes can talk a little bit more about it, or public safety, but the nation's contracts are renegotiated, and I'm not sure. Some of them get renegotiated every 3 years. Some get negotiated every 5 years, and I don't remember what public safeties are. However, the process starts with the programs submitting a scope of work, a new scope of work, and some additional information to Cordell Shorty's shop. That's all incorporated into the annual funding agreement. So they submit that proposed. Then when it goes through Navajo Nation review, it turns out that in the end, that the actual negotiations, Cordell Shorty's shop is involved. The Department of Justice is involved also. One thing that the committee may not be aware of, and I'm not sure how many delegates or even program staff are aware of it, but the actual contracts they are set out in the federal law. They're right in the Self-Determination Act, all that contracts language. So there is not much room to negotiate actually the contract language. What you actually turn out to be negotiating is the annual funding agreement, which includes the proposed scope of work, and also that's where the annual funding comes in. But Delegate So is correct that Cordell Shorty is identified as the contracting officer. He does run the show up until after the negotiations have been completed. Once those negotiations are completed, then the legislation goes to the Law and Order Committee, and then on to Budget and Finance Committee, and I believe on to NABI for approval of those contracts. Then they're executed if the committees, if the legislative side approves those contracts, and then they are executed by the president and submitted to the BIA. The nation is required to have a tribal resolution supporting the contracts. So give me a few minutes, and I will send you out a copy of Cordell Shorty's authority. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Dana. So with that, Dana will be sending out a little bit more information to us here shortly. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed
Madam
forward.
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Delegate Vince James. I'm sorry, Delegate Vince James, the floor is yours. We can hear you, Delegate James. Delegate Vince James. Okay, we'll go ahead and go on to Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
I should say, Virginia. Oh, Dana, I just text you a few messages. If you're listening, I would like to clear up that legislation to revisit, or the one that's going to sign off on the third issue. I would like to be there in the morning. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Now, this is Delegate.
Thank you for that, Delegate Eugene. So, Delegate Elmer Begay, if you could hold off just a little bit. Dana, did you get that comment that was made by Delegate Eugene So?
I did, Madam Chair, and I will speak with him tomorrow.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Dana. Before I go to Delegate Elmer Begay, committee members, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, not hearing anything, I'm going to turn the floor over to Delegate Elmer Begay. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I should know that Delegate Charles Moon, other members of the Law and Order Committee, other Shimodo, Dr. Luskria, they make that report. I know that it's been quite some time, called just now called listening to people, community request this and so we call just the community had a lot to say on especially with this law, public safety. So I'm trying to talk to trying to get to DALCON, 1985 and on, so the allocated some lands. I don't know. I guess, but now you see that your own. I don't need card over. I know. Isn't how there's a plan that was put in place. The area a bundles that you know what they need to say. But to update that us, to update things also. So update a and the hot you that your own. Or to update things also. What are there's a lot of teaching that's going forward and then requesting assistant how to go about it. Other with some help from the public safety dog, but at that time, your account. The reason why I'm saying that is they used to come to church meetings or every now and then they sent some reports or data to share it with the community. I thought they today got the year going to now working with public safety. But my main point here is that the assistant was requested through Ms. Gray Eyes. So it's there's assessments that was done regarding that public safety, and then also the Justice Center complex. There was a study and assessment that was made with a contract through the BIA. With that, all the facilities were designed, and I think I had a response back from Dr. Grayas regarding the changings of some information off of that. It's 99% that is construction ready. So but overall, the design of that construction, the construction of that detention facility is 100%. 100% ready, construction ready. The only reason why is 99%. The drone is hasn't come available yet. The design of that water sprinkler system, bahagi on-site storage tank. I thought design is set. It's been 99%. It's construction ready to it's not 97 or it's not 95. So we drop by some documents with law and orders and around there with public safety. We're willing to share it again. Around that at that time, we're requesting for priorities listings. That we don't have no other fundings, but on they got $3 million from the state. So we have that, and for that, there was that was sent because of the corridors, those utilities, the corridors of the right of way for utilities. I thought into a grant for $35,000 worth of it. A grant stay. So that $3 million is set for that utility to run it around there, keep up on CKC. So we're moving along real quick. So even we wanted to know that if we could go forward with the sales and funds. I just said, any done that it's a deep make. Okay, is more. So is not just kilo difficult. We know that you've been helping out the community, requesting their needs and quite the assessments that we're at that point to where utility corridors, we're going to go ahead and put that state money to use for that. I don't know that my question is, I think that I heard it so many times ago, reducing the facilities no. So because the construction ready, I thought we don't want it to delay that again. I can how long will it take or how much money will it take again? I know that you work with the architectures and then we have an architecture. It's many pounds and other as in hundreds and I don't know how long it's going to take again to do that. We don't want to jeopardize the whole construction if it's going to be put on hold again for drawing and things like that. Is there an easy way to just delete some of the spaces or don't have to be built if it's going to be like that? If it's going to be like that, if it comes down to that, reducing the facility, if it's going to be one question. The second one is this information nature, and 97%, 95% ready reconstruction. But the other side is how can we change this? Who's the right person to talk to? If we give you the whole documents again, and this is already been reviewed by the BIA too. So how do we change those information to make it more to make it more than 100% ready? So that'll be my question.
Delegate Elmer Begay, the report is on the operations and maintenance, the O&M costs. You're talking about building a new facility. So the 105 Lease does technically cover part of that building, but it also covers the operations and maintenance. As I stated at the very beginning, Delegate Begay, building the facility, the Navajo Nation, we can request funding for that. It's the operations and maintenance that we have to have a plan for that, and that's the reason for today's report. So it sounds like your questions are more towards building the facility, and you are correct that BIA will come in and they will approve or disapprove the size of the facility, but everything is based on the data and the statistics that are being submitted.
So we are trying to work with them right now, and we keep telling you, Delegate BA, that that we have met with BIA, and I don't know how else or how many more times to tell you this, but the building and the O&M are two different things. Whether there's going to be enough to station them in the area has been working on. And we've been pushing to try to get more officers signed up and to get them into the academy or to get them here to the Navajo Nation. So I'm not, again, it sounds like your question is more on the building of the facility when the report is really on the operations and maintenance. But I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to Dr. Gray Eyes. I don't know if she has anything to add to that. Dr. Gray Eyes? Dr. Gray Eyes?
Sorry, I was talking away and I was muted. In response to Delegate McGay, I'll need to talk with the project manager to see about what documents are, what is lacking to bring you to 100% construction ready. And then this is really, the Delcon facility is a police building and a corrections or a jail facility where the police officers can take their arrestees there. That's what it is. The court's already been built, so we'll need to talk to the project manager separately on this. If you're okay, I can set up the meeting and you can ask your questions to the project manager that we're working with. Diaj, Elmer Begay, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah,
Dr.
I
Gray,
can
I
hear you.
can hear you. Yes, if you can work directly with Delegate Begay.
Yes, I can do that separately. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and move forward to accept the report. Terrell, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Honorable Ottoso, how do you vote?
Vote please.
Thank you, Honorable Ottoso votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, God, is the show.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Vince James not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting. Madam Chair.
Delegate James votes green.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Vince James votes green. With that, Madam Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. We'll go ahead and move forward to the next report on the agenda. And that is item E. We have receiving reports from Department of Justice on the Indian Child Welfare Act case if we could just get an update on this case. Do we have anybody from the Department of Justice on the line? Second call for somebody from the Department of Justice to report on the Indian Child Welfare Act case. Last and final call for the report from the Department of Justice on the Indian Child Welfare Act case. Okay, not hearing anything. Lorraine, let's go ahead and move this item to the next item or to the next agenda for Law and Order Committee. And let's make sure we got Department of Justice on the line. They should always be on the line, ready to provide some answers. So let's go ahead and start moving on that. Item number C, report from the prosecutor's office on the caseloads and what barriers they have with these cases. Do we have anybody from the prosecutor's office on the line?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Robin Jackson with the Office of the Prosecutor.
Mr. Jackson, thank you for being on the line. Just so you are aware, on my end, it sounds like your voice is coming in like a robot. I think it sounds like you're driving. Are you ready to provide a report to us on the caseloads and the barriers with these cases for today?
I am driving, but I am pulling over right now. I do have some data that I could share. If it's still coming in a little bit bad, we can reschedule if you would like, Madam Chair.
Lorraine, can you hear on your end? Can you hear Chief Prosecutor Jackson?
Madam Chair, not really clear. Just has like a static one.
Mr. Jackson, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, yes.
Okay, great. Mr. Jackson, are you on your way to a court hearing, or are you coming back from a court hearing?
I am proceeding to a court hearing, but I do have some time, and I am prepared to provide information to you, Madam Chair. I want to be responsive.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Jackson. The problem is you're kind of coming in now like you're talking in a tunnel. There's no echo, but it's just kind of that loud tunnely sound. If you're okay, Mr. Jackson, and we don't want to take up very much time, especially since you're on your way to a court hearing, would you be available next Monday to provide the committee members the information regarding the caseloads and then the barriers your office is facing to try to address the caseload?
Yes, ma'am. I can do that.
Okay, committee members, are there any objections to moving this report to the next Law and Order Committee meeting?
No objection from Mr. So, Eugene.
Thank you, Delegate Eugene. So I haven't heard any delegates object to moving this report to the next Law and Order Committee meeting. So Lorraine, if we can add this report to the next Law and Order Committee meeting. Mr. Jackson, thank you for being honest with us and letting us know that you are on your way to a court hearing right now. We don't want to interfere with that. So if you want to, if you're ready next week on Monday, we can go ahead and call you at that time to report from the prosecutor's office.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. So with that, we move to item D on the report, and this is a report to be provided to us by the Division of Public Safety regarding the bonus pay. If we could get an update on this matter. I know that earlier I did see Chief Noon, who was on the call. However, my internet is down here in Shiprock. I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't been able to log back on for the last hour. So do we still have Chief Noon on the line and Deputy Chief Redhorse?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're on the line.
Thank you so much, Chief Noon. So with that, I'd like to ask, are you ready to provide us an updated report on the bonus pay for the officers?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Wonderful. So Chief Noon, you have reported to this committee before. As you know, you do have 20 minutes to provide the report. Upon completion of your report, just if you could just let us know that you're done. That way we can turn the floor over to committee members for any questions or any comments that they may have. You can ask up to 2 agents to assist you with your report. If there are any documents that need to be sent, we ask that you send them to Lorraine Spencer. I'm sure you have her email address so that she can send that out to the committee members. I'm going to ask everyone on the line to make sure that their phone is on mute when the chief is providing us some information regarding this issue. Chief Noon, before we begin, before I turn the floor over to you, are there any questions or any comments?
No questions, no.
Thank you, Chief Noon. So with that, Chief Noon, you do have 20 minutes on the clock to provide us some information regarding this matter. Chief Noon, before I begin, I'm going to call committee members for a motion and a second to hear the report.
Motion to schedule it.
Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second? Second call. I need a second to hear the report. Last and final call for a second to hear the report from the Division of Public Safety regarding the bonuses for police officers. Lorraine, can you hear me?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can hear you, and I have yourself, Eugene So, Vince James on the line, but I don't see Alto So on the call, Madam Chair.
Okay, just for the record, did you hear me call 3 times for a second to hear this report?
Yes, I did.
Okay, with that, we didn't get a second, so that means that to the report, Chief Noon, we're not ready to hear the report. I do apologize. The motion was made by Delegate Eugene So, but there's not a delegate who is seconding the motion. So at this time, Chief Noon, I'm going to go ahead and excuse you. And again, for the record, I did call 3 times for a second and didn't hear anything. So thank you, Chief Noon, for being available and ready to provide us a report. I do apologize for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
With that, we move to item number 6, old business. There is none. Item number 7, new business. There is none. Item number 8, close of the meeting. Before I call for an adjournment, are there any announcements that need to be made at this time? I do have an announcement. Actually should be on the next Law and Order Committee meeting. Lorraine, you have October 17th for a regular meeting for the Law and Order Committee meeting. However, that's the first day of fall session. So if you could remove that date and if you could include on there October 3rd, the 10th, and the 24th, or the other option on the agenda is we could list October 10th, 24th, and 31st, because we do have 5 Mondays for October 2022 this year. So that needs to be on the agenda so that we can, as a committee, decide which what day we want to meet for Law and Order Committee. This will be a special meeting. Committee members, are there any other announcements at this time?
Lorraine,
Lorraine, can you?
Delegate Brigade. person.
Delegate Begay, did you have an announcement to make?
Yeah, I can do an announcement here.
Okay, well, we'll give the floor over to you for announcement. Delegate Begay?
I just wanted to say that my chapter is ready for the ARPA fundings, and I'd like to say that there's a lot of I guess understanding or communication with the Division of Community Development Office. So I'm not sure we can be going along, because right now we've been actually going to the fourth week of waiting for a signature from the Division of Action. This morning we finally got that Dr. Yellerman signed it all our chapters, but Miss Jim Martin, he had an entire, so it's kind of really complicated and frustrating. Why being a delegate and trying to utilize the fundings, people are saying that no, it's not really us, it's the executive branch. That's what we see again. So, I just wanted to commend my chapters for this. So that'd be my announcement. And then my question would be, so the next meeting that we're going to be on for DAPCON is for that is going to be October, did you say? So I can notify my chapters.
Thank you, Delegate Elmer Begay. So on the 19th, I believe if everything is in order, Lorraine can add you to the agenda. I will not be present during that time. Vice Chair Otto So will probably be the one who is going to be chairing the meeting. So I just want to let you know that we also do have a delegate who is on the committee, who is, as of like today, does vote for one legislation, and then we don't hear any more voting, and is never on the line. So it would be up to Delegate Vince James and Delegate Eugene. So if they are present, they will make quorum and they can hear the legislation. But Lorraine, I guess we'll email and find out to make sure that legislation is ready. I'll be working with the Office of Legislative Counsel as well to make sure that the legislation is ready to be reheard. So with that, Lorraine, just as an FYI, again, we only heard one vote from Delegate Edmund Yazzie. He wasn't present throughout the meeting, and this code does state that he's supposed to be present throughout the meeting, or at a minimum, I believe it's 3 hours. So I'll be sending you an email on that. So with that, committee members, are there any other announcements at this time? Not hearing anything, let's go ahead and move to, I need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second?
Delegate James, second.
Delegate Vince James seconds the motion. So with that, committee members, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to a roll call vote. Darrell, can you assist us with roll call vote for adjournment at 12:57 p.m.?
Okay, Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie not voting. Madam Chair.
So with that, we have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. Is that correct, Sherelle?
Yes.
Okay, with that, at 12:57, we are hereby adjourned. This is the Law and Order Committee for the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.